I still remember the sound of her laughter echoing through her kitchen, low, warm, and a little bit dangerous. That night wasn't supposed to mean anything. Just dinner. Just a thank you for helping her fix the leaking garden light last weekend. That's what she said when she invited me. But even then, her voice had a softness that made just dinner sound like something else entirely. I stood at her doorstep longer than I should have, holding a cheap bottle of wine, trying to steady my heartbeat. Her house always looked the same, neat, calm, and a little too quiet for how alive she made it feel. When she opened the door, she was barefoot, her hair loose, wearing something simple that somehow made me forget every word I'd practiced saying. "Right on time," she said, smiling like she knew how nervous I was. "Wouldn't want to miss your cooking," I managed. "Careful," she teased, stepping aside. "Flattery might get you a second invitation." Inside, everything smelled like rosemary and roasted garlic. A record player hummed softly in the background, something old, the kind of music that doesn't rush. She moved around the kitchen with quiet confidence, sleeves rolled up, laughter tucked behind her lips. I wanted to say something, anything, but my voice caught somewhere between admiration and confusion. I watched her light a candle, then two. The flame flickered against her face, catching the small lines by her eyes. They didn't make her look older, they made her look real. Like she'd lived, lost, and still had the courage to open her door to someone new. "Wine?" she asked, holding up 2 glasses. "Sure," I said, taking one. Our fingers brushed, barely, but it was enough to pull every thought out of my head. "You look tense," she said, leaning against the counter. "Relax. It's just dinner." "Yeah," I said, smiling weakly. "Just dinner." But it wasn't. It was the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching. The small pauses between her sentences, like she was trying to measure what was appropriate and what wasn't. I felt it too, that invisible line neither of us had agreed to cross but both kept inching toward. When we sat down to eat, the silence stretched, warm and heavy. She filled it with small talk, work, travel, books. I answered, but part of me wasn't listening. Part of me was counting how many times her eyes flicked toward me, how her smile lingered just a little too long after each joke. Halfway through dinner, she laughed again, softly this time. "You're awfully quiet tonight," she said. I looked up. "Just trying not to say something stupid." "Try me," she said, tilting her head. "I like honest mistakes better than polite silence." That's when I realized she wasn't playing safe either. The air between us changed. The candlelight trembled, the record crackled, and suddenly it wasn't about food or gratitude anymore. It was something else, something unspoken but alive, waiting. She reached for her glass, and her wrist brushed mine again. This time, either of us moved. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come," she said quietly. "I wasn't sure I should," I admitted. Her eyes met mine, steady, unreadable, but burning. "And now that you have?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. The words wouldn't come out right. She smiled, not wide, not bright, just knowing. Then the doorbell rang. Her smile faltered, and for a moment neither of us moved. The music played on, but the warmth in the room shifted, not gone, just suspended. She set her glass down carefully. "Excuse me," she whispered. And as she walked away, I realized this night, this dinner, was about to serve something I hadn't been ready for. The sound of the doorbell faded down the hallway, followed by a quiet murmur of voices, hers, calm and low, another, male and unfamiliar. I sat there, staring at the untouched food on my plate, feeling like an intruder in a story I wasn't supposed to be part of. When she returned, her smile was practiced, polite, too neat. "Just a delivery," she said, setting a small box on the counter. But her voice had changed. Something in it trembled, just slightly, like a note that didn't quite fit the melody. I wanted to ask, was it really a delivery? But I didn't. I just nodded, pretending not to notice how her hands shook when she poured more wine. We talked again, trying to find our way back to the easy rhythm we had before the interruption. It didn't come back. The air between us had turned heavier, like the quiet after lightning. "You remind me of someone," she said suddenly. I looked up. "Yeah? My son's friend," she said softly, eyes fixed on her glass. "You have the same restlessness. Always looking at the door, like you're halfway between staying and leaving." I didn't know what to say to that. I'd met her son once, briefly. He'd left for university months ago. It shouldn't have mattered, but now, the connection made everything more complicated. She must have seen it in my face because she laughed, trying to ease the tension. "Don't worry, I'm not comparing you. Just reminiscing. I guess I missed the noise around here." The way she said it, half a confession, half a defense, made something twist in my chest. Loneliness has a sound. And I could hear it in her voice. "I know what that's like," I said quietly. "You?" she asked, surprised. "Yeah. My mom passed when I was little. The house got too quiet after that. You start filling the silence any way you can." She nodded, her eyes softening. "That explains it." "Explains what?" "The way you look at people. Like you're listening for something they're not saying." For a moment I couldn't breathe. It wasn't what she said, it was the way she saw me. Like no one had before. Silence again. Not awkward this time, just full. The kind that hums in your bones. "I shouldn't have said that," she whispered, looking away. "Why not?" "Because it's not fair." Her words hung in the air between us, delicate and dangerous. I leaned back, forcing a small smile. "Then maybe don't take it back." She met my eyes, hesitant, searching. Then she smiled too, but this one was different. Tired. Real. "You really shouldn't say things like that to me." "Why?" I asked, even though I already knew. She didn't answer. Instead, she reached for the box the delivery had brought earlier. Opened it. Inside was a framed photo, her, a man, and a younger version of her son. The man's arm rested around her shoulders. "Was that your husband?" I asked quietly. "Is," she corrected, voice trembling. "He's just not around much anymore." There it was, the truth beneath the candlelight. She set the photo down and looked at me again, eyes soft, conflicted. "You should probably go soon." "I know," I said. But neither of us moved. Then a pause. A long, impossible silence. Her fingers brushed mine again, almost by accident, but this time she didn't pull away. Neither did I. The room seemed to hold its breath with us, wine forgotten, food gone cold, hearts beating just loud enough to fill the quiet. "I should have left the moment," she said. "You should probably go." But her fingers were still on mine, light, trembling, undecided, and somehow, that small touch pinned me in place stronger than any command could. The silence between us stretched, sharp and fragile. The candlelight flickered, casting our shadows across the walls like they were leaning closer even if we weren't. She pulled her hand back first. "This isn't right," she said softly, almost to herself. I swallowed. "Then why does it feel like it is?" She looked at me, eyes full of things she'd never say. "Because we're both lonely," she whispered. The words hit harder than I expected, honest, raw, human. And for a second, either of us moved. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. Once. Twice. She froze. I caught the name flashing on the screen, Daniel. Her husband. She turned it face down, forcing a steady breath. "He's in Singapore," she said, voice carefully even. "Meetings. He'll call again later." But her eyes, they told a different story. Fear. Guilt. The weight of something she couldn't name. "I should go," I said, standing. "You don't have to," she replied too quickly, then bit her lip. "Sorry. That came out wrong." I hesitated near the door, torn between leaving and wanting her to stop me. She didn't. Not immediately. Then, "Wait." I turned. She stepped closer, slow and unsure, like she was walking into a memory she didn't trust. "I keep thinking," she said, her voice trembling. If I met you at a different time, maybe it wouldn't feel so wrong. Her words pulled something out of me, the kind of ache that's too old for your age. Maybe, I said, my voice barely holding steady. Wrong is just another word for too late. Her laugh came out cracked. You sound older than you are. You make me feel older, I said. That did it. The air shifted again. She took one more step forward. We were close enough to feel the warmth between us, to see the small quiver in her breath. My hand twitched, half wanting to reach for her, half terrified to. We didn't move. Just existed in that unbearable almost. Then, suddenly, a car pulled into the driveway. Headlights sliced through the curtains. She stiffened instantly. Oh God, she whispered. Is it? Yes. Her voice cracked. He wasn't supposed to be back until tomorrow. I glanced around, jacket on the chair, glass still half full, evidence of something that hadn't even happened yet. Go, she said, panic creeping in. Out the back. I hesitated. Are you sure? Please. I slipped through the kitchen door into the cool night air, heart pounding so loud it drowned everything else. From the side of the house, I could see her through the window, adjusting the candles, clearing the plates, forcing her face into calm. Then the front door opened. A man's voice, low, tired, unsuspecting, drifted through the walls. I should have kept walking. I should have left completely. But I didn't. I stood there in the dark, watching her smile at him, her hand brushing his arm like it meant something. And for the first time, I understood what real guilt felt like, not because of what we did, but because of everything we almost did. Our eyes met through the glass for one impossible second, her look saying everything her lips couldn't. Not now. Not yet. Then she turned away. And I finally walked into the night, knowing I wouldn't be able to stay away for long. 3 days. That's how long I stayed away. 3 days pretending I didn't think about her every hour, pretending that I didn't replay that night like a song stuck on the same unfinished note. I told myself it was guilt. That it would fade. It didn't. When I finally saw her again, it wasn't planned. It never is, with things that matter. I was jogging past her street when I saw her car parked outside, door open, groceries spilled halfway across the pavement. She was kneeling, trying to gather them up. I stopped without thinking. You always show up at the right time, she said, not looking up. Or maybe the wrong one, I said quietly, kneeling to help. Our hands met over a carton of milk. She didn't pull back. Neither did I. She sighed. You shouldn't be here. I wasn't supposed to be, I said. But I'm tired of pretending I don't want to be. That made her look up. Her eyes, tired, beautiful, scared, caught mine. Do you have any idea what you're saying? Yeah, I said. Do you? She stood, shaking her head. You think this is simple, don't you? That if we just say it out loud, everything makes sense? No, I said. I just think silence is worse. She froze, her breath catching like a small betrayal. You shouldn't make me feel seen like that, she whispered. It's cruel. It's not meant to be, I said softly. It's just true. For a second, it felt like the world around us went quiet. No cars, no wind, just us standing too close in a place we didn't belong. Then a voice called from inside the house, her husband's. Claire? You out there? She flinched. Go, she hissed. But this time, I didn't move. He doesn't even see you anymore, I said, voice low, shaking. You talked to him, and he's already somewhere else. Why do you keep pretending he's still here? Her face went pale. That's not your place. I know, I said. But it's true. She dropped the bag in her hand. You don't understand what it's like to build a life, to hold something that's falling apart, and still try to make it look whole. Then stop holding it, I said. The words came out sharper than I meant. And yet I couldn't take them back. She turned away, wiping a tear she didn't want me to see. You think love fixes things, she said. But sometimes it just ruins what's left. I took a step forward, closing the distance between us. Then let it ruin me. That broke something. I saw it, in the way her shoulders dropped, in the tremor in her breath. She turned slowly, and when our eyes met again, there was no wall left. She reached for me, hesitated an inch away, and whispered, "Don't." But her hand stayed there, suspended between restraint and surrender. Her husband's voice called again from inside, closer this time. "Claire?" She didn't answer. Neither did I. The moment hung between us like a held breath, too dangerous to continue, too fragile to end. And just as she finally whispered, "Please go," I heard the sound of footsteps approaching, steady, unmistakable, moving toward the door. The next day, she texted me, "Don't come by. Please." No greeting, no explanation. Just that. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed, then typed and deleted a dozen replies before tossing my phone aside. By evening, I couldn't stand it anymore. I told myself I'd just walk by her street again, no stopping, no talking, just passing through. But the lie was too thin even as I believed it. Her house was dark except for the faint glow in the living room. Through the window, I saw her standing near the couch, arms folded, talking to someone. Her husband. But then something else. A second figure stepped forward from the shadows. Younger. Taller. Familiar. It took me a few seconds to place him. Her son. He'd come home early. I froze, hidden behind the hedge as their voices carried faintly through the open window. "I found your phone," he said, his tone edged with confusion and hurt. "You didn't tell me he was my friend." Her voice trembled. "It's not what you think." He laughed, but it wasn't amusement, it was disbelief. "Then what is it, Mom? You think I wouldn't find the messages? The calls? The way you said his name like stop," she whispered. "Please." My stomach dropped. He knew. He'd read everything. And suddenly the pieces clicked, the reason she pulled away, the sudden silence, the message telling me to stay away. I took a step back, my pulse pounding. I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have started this. But then I heard her voice again, softer now, broken. "You think I meant for any of this to happen? He was just supposed to help with the garden. And then he stayed for dinner, and it felt wrong?" Her son snapped. Or did it feel good to be seen again? Her silence was answer enough. He sighed, long and heavy. "Dad's already halfway gone, and now this. Do you even know what this does to him? To me?" "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You're not sorry," he said. "You're lonely. And you used him to fill the space Dad left behind." Those words hit me like a punch. Used him. I didn't wait to hear more. I turned and walked away, the cold air biting harder than it should have. By the time I reached the end of the street, my phone buzzed again. Her name. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was barely holding steady. "You heard, didn't you? I shouldn't have been there." "No," she said quickly. "You shouldn't have been. Any of this shouldn't have happened." I closed my eyes. "So that's it?" "I don't know," she whispered. "He's gone to stay with a friend. Daniel's coming home early. Everything's unraveling." I wanted to say something to fix it, but what could I say? "I never used you," she said suddenly. "Don't ever believe that. But I did make a mistake. I let you make me feel something I'd buried years ago." The line went quiet for a few seconds. Then she added softer, "If you care about me at all, don't come here again. Please." Click. I stood there in the dark, phone pressed to my ear, hearing the dial tone echo like an ending that came too soon. And still, part of me knew it wasn't over. Because sometimes the worst mistake isn't crossing the line. It's realizing you already have, and wanting to do it again anyway. It rained the night I went back. I told myself I wouldn't, that I'd respect her words, give her space, let the storm settle. But silence can turn poisonous when it's filled with everything left unsaid. Her house looked different under the rain. Dim lights through fogged windows, curtains half drawn. I stood there for a long time, drenched, debating whether to knock or disappear quietly, finally learning to let go. Then, through the glass, I saw her. Alone. Sitting by the window, a cup of tea gone cold in her hands. I knocked once, gently. When she opened the door, she didn't look surprised. Just tired. Like she'd been expecting me and wishing she hadn't. "You shouldn't be here," she said, voice barely above the rain. "I know." "Then why?" "Because if I leave without saying this, I'll never stop thinking about it." She didn't answer, just stepped aside. I walked in. The scent of lavender and rainwater filled the space, familiar, fragile. We stood there, facing each other in the half-light. Neither of us knew where to begin. Finally, she broke the silence. "My husband knows." The words landed like stones. I nodded slowly. "And your son?" "He's gone. For now." She looked up, meeting my eyes. "Everything's falling apart, and I don't even know who I am in the middle of it." "You're someone who deserves to feel alive," I said softly. Her breath caught, that same involuntary tremor that always gave her away. "You think this is life?" she asked bitterly. "Sneaking around, hurting people who trusted us?" "No," I said. "But it's real. And it's the first thing that's felt real in a long time." Her eyes flickered, anger, longing, confusion, everything tangled together. "You're too young to understand what real costs." I stepped closer. "Then show me." She exhaled shakily. "You should hate me." I tried. Her laugh came out cracked. "And failed?" "Completely." Something shifted. The air between us grew smaller, denser. She looked up, and for the first time, there was no wall, no pretense. Just truth, messy, fragile, human. "I keep asking myself why you," she whispered. "Why now?" "Maybe because we were both waiting for someone to see us, not as we should be, but as we are." The rain outside softened, turning into a rhythmic hush. She reached out then, slow, hesitant, her hand trembling as it found mine. "If I let this happen," she said, "I lose everything." I held her gaze. "Then let me be the one thing you don't lose." Her lip quivered, her eyes shimmered. "You'll regret it." "Maybe," I said. "But not tonight." We stood like that, hands barely touching, hearts beating too close, until she finally closed her eyes and leaned her forehead against mine. No kiss. No promise. Just that, the quiet collision of two people who had run out of ways to pretend. When she spoke again, her voice was a whisper caught between confession and goodbye. "Whatever happens next, remember me kindly." And before I could reply, she stepped back, her hands slipping from mine like the last leaf in a storm. She didn't ask me to leave. She didn't need to. I turned toward the door, the weight of everything unspoken following me out into the rain. Behind me, I heard her whisper, soft but certain, "I wish it had been another life." A month passed before I saw her again. Not by accident this time. Not by choice either. Just one of those strange collisions life seems to enjoy, cruel, quiet, and almost tender in how it unfolds. I was walking through the Sunday market when I caught sight of her. She was at a flower stall, holding a bunch of tulips, her favorite, I remembered. She wore sunglasses, hair tied back, the kind of calm people wear when they're learning how to start over. For a moment, I thought about walking past her, pretending not to notice, letting the universe have its final say. But then she turned, and her eyes found mine. No shock. No smile. Just recognition, the kind that doesn't fade with time. We stood there, a few feet apart, the crowd moving around us like a river splitting in two. "Hey," I said quietly. "Hey," she replied, voice steady, almost gentle. I nodded toward the flowers. "Still like tulips, huh?" "Always have." A small smile tugged at her lips. "They don't ask for much. Just a little light." I couldn't help but laugh. "You always make everything sound deeper than it is." She tilted her head, studying me. And you still overthink everything. We both laughed then, soft, genuine, fragile. For a few seconds, it felt almost normal again. But normal wasn't ours to keep. I glanced at her left hand, the ring was gone. Just a faint line where it used to be. You okay? I asked. She took a moment before answering. I will be. There was honesty in her voice, the kind that doesn't hide behind strength. He left, she said simply. No big fight. No drama. Just the quiet end of something that had already ended. I wanted to reach out, to say something comforting, but she didn't need saving. Not anymore. I kept waiting for regret to come. She continued. It didn't. Just peace. Sad peace, but still peace. I nodded, my throat tight. And your son? He's angry, she said softly. But anger means he still cares. We'll get there. We stood in silence, the kind that didn't ache this time. The kind that let things settle instead of break. I think about that night sometimes, she admitted. The dinner. The rain. Everything after. So do I said. Every day. Her eyes softened. And? I don't regret it, I whispered. Any of it. She smiled then, small, wistful, beautiful. Good. Neither do I. A pause. Then she handed me one of the tulips. For the garden, she said. The one you were supposed to fix. I took it, fingers brushing hers, no spark this time, no rush, just warmth. The kind that stays quietly in your chest long after goodbye. Take care of yourself, she said. You too. And just like that, she walked away. No dramatic parting, no backward glance, just grace, like she'd learned how to leave without breaking. I watched her disappear into the crowd, the tulips still in my hand, the memory of her voice echoing softer with each step she took. Sometimes love doesn't end with a kiss or a promise. Sometimes it ends with understanding, and the quiet mercy of letting each other go.